Hey, aloha guys, Eric West here, HawaiiRealEstate.org, coming to you live from Maui, Hawaii. I'm here today with two survivors of the fire. We're going to do a quick interview, or not so quick, who knows. Jeremy and Elisha Baldwin. They did lose everything in this fire. Thankfully, everyone's okay in your direct family.
We are.
And the purpose of this interview is going to be first and foremost for them to tell their story, and secondly to talk about some of the gaps that they've experienced since this whole thing has started that can maybe help facilitate, as you know, we are Let's Fill the Gap, to help facilitate things that they might need or other members of the community might need to spread the truth of what's going on here, and also to promote love and aloha in the community, to make sure that things are moving forward in a way that is representative of the community that they come from. Yeah, I believe you're in the same neighborhood as Archie Kalepa, is that right?
I believe so.
I believe so. Okay, so obviously he's sort of they call him the unofficial mayor of Maui, and he is a representative for the Hawaiian people, and that's the particular neighborhood that they're in. If you enjoy content like this, it's very important that you please share this on whatever platform that you have access to. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. That helps us with fighting the mainstream media that is kind of watering down some of the things that are going on here. We just got done with watching the Joe Biden message, and we'll have some reaction. But let's just jump in right into a true survivor's story, and we're so thankful that they're alive. But let's just go ahead and start, Jeremy, if you don't mind, a little bit about who you are, your background, and then go right into your story of what you just experienced.
Sure. Yeah. My name's Jeremy. This is my wife, Elisha. We've lived on Maui for 14 years. On the west side for most of that time. We lived in Kihei for a brief, a year or so. Mm-hmm. We run a landscape business here. That's called Eco Blue Landscaping. We try to be environmentally safe, no Roundup, none of that junk, and that comes with its own challenges. It's always a fight trying to keep people employed and keep business going when you're trying to do that, which is, to me, backwards, right? That should be how everybody should be thinking. So we're all in this group, a very environmentally thoughtful bunch of people. We have 4 kids, from a 1.5-year-old to a 22-year-old, and everybody in between. And we all lost everything. We have each other, but we literally, everything we're wearing is loaned to us by the grace of friends and family and just random people. All the food we've eaten, all the hospitality we've been shown, it's all been from our community.
Anything from any of the big organizations that they mentioned today in the speech? Anything from FEMA or Red Cross that you've directly received that you're aware of?
I've never heard from them, or I've never personally seen anyone from any governmental organization at all. I've seen them on the news, but I've never seen one or heard from any of them. So it's all been just the amazing spirit of connectivity that Maui's brought. I mean, all the squabbles and strife between neighbors and groups has just went away with the fire. I mean, it really did, and we're all just kind of ready to do something amazing out of this. But unfortunately, lots of us don't have anything yet to do that with. And us personally, and a lot of people we know, our insurance is just woefully inadequate.
Underinsured, essentially.
Underinsured, and the homes we all bought years ago were already kind of the bottom of the barrel, probably, so to speak, just dilapidated and stuff. And then we've all put just years, like in our house, we put 8 years of love and effort into restoring a 1950 home, and
And the work you did was amazing.
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
And how much love and effort and money and time you put into that is unfathomable, really.
Yeah, thank you. And I agree that was our love, our kind of our passion outside of business, was to just create kind of this amazing space. And we had a 1950 Airstream that was there, and our tree houses and like everything reclaimed from locally sourced, and no chemicals or fire retardants or anything like that, but our house was concrete with a metal roof, and
ironically, you told me that it used to belong to the fire chief in the 1950s. Is that right?
It was the fire chief who built it right after the war. He came back from World War II, and that was they called it, like the locals called it, the house on the hill. It was just like the only one in Waikuli in that area for a long time. So yeah, historical, really, really neat building that was really run down, and we turned it into something, I think, that brought it back to what it used to be. And all the original mango trees, that's, to us, a loss we can't get. You can eventually recover financially, hopefully, but you can't you can't grow, 75-year-old producing mango trees overnight, and that, the value of that just to the community, to us. We called it the Mango Mansion, even though the house was not a mansion by any means. It's very small, but that's stuff you just can't get back, and plenty of beautiful trees, including our own banyan tree in our own town. It's just,
Dylan, should I do recover, broadcast, continue recording, or recover, broadcast? Continue recording. Okay, thank you. We're on a Starlink, and we were told because of the president's visit today that it could be intermittent. It's always a little bit intermittent, but apologies. If there's any issues with this, we will be reposting it from a recording that we're making as well. Okay, Jeremy, continue.
Yeah,
the Mango Mansion.
Yeah, the Mango
You're
Mansion.
making me hungry.
Yeah, no, let's get some Hayden mangoes. We literally had them falling off the tree in the hurricane force winds that were going on too, before the fires and stuff.
So tell us about that day. Give us a little background if you don't mind sharing your story and
Yeah.
anything that you think is important for the world to know about that day and what happened and what didn't happen.
Yeah, we didn't have power earlier on in the day. Early in the morning, we didn't have power, and so my dad was a high voltage lineman my whole life in Aspen, Colorado, the foreman of Holy Cross Energy, and so I have a particular, background in that kind of stuff just from his life, and I knew that with the wind it was blowing harder than we've ever seen it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah,
A lot of people say that.
and me too. And a lot of locals, people lived here their whole lives, so they'd never seen wind like that. I knew that when the power was out, I knew why, and I knew it should be. We have overhead power lines here in Lahaina that were all put underground in almost every city in the country in the 90s, or earlier. Underground power can't rupture into fire on average circumstances. Overhead power on spruce and pine poles is very dangerous in wind, and that's what we have in Lahaina, and it's just a kind of a cobweb of both internet and cable, but also high voltage, just all over, strung out everywhere, just like, and that stuff, you need that to be powered down in high wind, or you're very susceptible to fire.
And we lost power that night before the fire at 4:30 a.m. At least that's when we lost it here. Did you notice when you lost it as well?
I didn't notice, other than when we woke up, whatever it was, 6:30, and it was out, but it came back on, which was alarming. It was
really?
Like, kind of nice, like, oh, maybe we can use. There was still no internet or anything, but it was alarming to me. It was like we can't have power lines up in this. We needed the power off. So I don't know how long it was on. I know that from what I've seen, 6:37 in the morning, there's definitive video out there of a neighbor in Lahaina Luna who physically you can see a downed high voltage line sparking in the grass.
Really? There's video of that?
There's video of that.
Okay.
And
On that note, real quick, I would like to encourage everybody that has video of this event, pictures, anything, you can go to archive.org and upload those videos and those pictures. They're very important as far as evidence goes. We have heard rumors, actually true stories from people that things are starting to let's just put it this way, take everything that's on your phones and put it on archive.org. I'll leave it at that so that we don't get anything cut out of this video.
Yeah, but I can cut it together. Now,
How much did we miss?
just a few minutes.
So that last part we
Yes.
missed? Okay.
No. It will buffer within the next hour, but now we're live again.
Okay. So does he need to cover his background as his dad's being an electrician?
That's all still there. Everything you said is still there.
Okay. But still there recorded or it's still there live?
Both.
Both, okay. Okay, all right. Sorry.
We don't know.
Some technical issues here in the war zone, but essentially
literally.
we were talking about if you have pictures or video of the day of this fire, before, during, after, 2 days later, pictures and video on your devices, on your iPhone or your Android, please upload those as soon as possible to archive.org or put them on a hard drive right away. Thank you. Okay, continue.
and
You saw sparking
and
on
that's
a live
a
wire.
really good point that we've been talking about a lot, and a lot of people in the community, is that we hear it on the media a lot, this being called a wildfire, natural occurring almost, kind of, and I'm just telling you right now, that's just absolutely untrue.
Mm-hmm.
It was caused by overhead electrical grid, flat out, and anybody that has anything to do with high voltage line work will know that.
And that's what
happened.
We need to put that into the public record and into the public domain, that the moment that we start to provide reasonable doubt that this was not a natural disaster, then the burden of proof is on the state to prove that it was in order to call this a natural disaster. Because if it's a natural disaster, then they have a law that they passed just last July, just last month, that enables the governor basically to not have to adhere to the normal laws as it pertains to permitting and historic districts and things of that nature. And I've also heard, right, just through the communications, that the Attorney General of Hawaii has already done some kind of a lawsuit against the state of Hawaii or the governor. I don't know the details of that, but if anyone's listening to that, if you're an attorney or someone that can help us, please let us figure out what that means, and is it real or is it some kind of strategy? All right, continue.
Yeah. So that day we knew there was a fire early on, and we have some friends who are firefighters too, and we were aware of a fire breaking out, and so we were glad the power was out, because obviously that's needed for that not to get out of control. And then we were told that it was all handled. That was 9 in the morning or something.
Yeah, about that.
And there was a release that went out, and it was the handle was fire was 100%.
100% contained. Yeah. So Maui News. So if anyone has a screenshot of that, please provide that, because that happened to me as well. I was called about the fire. I was told it was 100% contained.
Yeah.
I saw it on Maui Now. I called my friends in Lahaina. They actually went back to sleep because they had a long night working. So anyway, screenshots of that would be fantastic. That it was communicated to the residents that it was 100% contained.
Absolutely.
Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, that's true. And there was so then we never had any signal on our phone so no cell service the whole day.
Right.
So
blackout
and just gale force winds, so it was hard to talk to even neighbors, right? Because it's just, you went outside and it was this feeling of you're going to get something on your head.
Getting knocked over.
Yeah, people's roofs were getting ready to come off, and I didn't even know, I don't know if some people did, I didn't even know that there was a chance for that kind of wind. It was kind of shocking. It was
it wasn't in the news.
Wasn't
news.
news.
Like that.
We boarded up our houses many times here for
Right.
hurricanes, and usually not much comes out of it. But the big one was something nobody even knew. We were like baffled at the wind. And then the fire, of course, had no idea about that until we started all of a sudden seeing smoke again. And we had heard that the fire department had waited on the original 3-acre fire for 5 hours just to make sure it was contained, even after they said it was contained. And we can confirm that just through personal sources that we know. It was definitely contained. 5 hours they waited. When they eventually went back to the fire station to kind of regroup, literally have lunch finally, all that, within 20 minutes, they were full force called back to a fire that we now know of is the one that really burnt the city down. And so little did we know, 3 o'clock, 3:30, right after they had left, they got called back kind of mysteriously, and they were baffled. Like, where was this fire? And it was in the same area. We've heard different spots, definitely still some grass fire, but like there was a household shed that was on fire that kind of was out of nowhere. There was out of the fire zone, and it was on fire. So that was interesting. And they were kind of like, how'd this thing get on fire? And within short order, it had gone through Lahaina Luna down into the plantation area by the chimney stack there, and I know there's a lot of people that lost their lives down there. A lot more that they're not telling us yet, and that's unconfirmed right now. So I realize they have to go through a lot of steps, but unfortunately, there are a lot of people that didn't make it out of that original section, and I think we'll start hearing about that slowly.
By the way, I've had emergency specialists call me from different countries, emergency management people that say that this fire or this aftermath should have been properly documented. You cannot remove cars, you cannot remove bodies. It's a crime scene that needs to be processed. There needs to be testing, environmental, a lot of things. If they've been done, great, let us know. But also, those cars and bodies were moved without any investigation.
Crazy.
And and we're also hearing about things that refrigerators and things that were there that were removed. So there's a lot of tampering that happened. Is it the reports that we're getting? So again, if you have any kind of footage, that's why I just released my video. If you haven't seen it, it's a 4K video, an aerial drone video I just submitted yesterday. I'm going to upload that to archive.org, and I also have 4K video of a GoPro that I took through almost every street in Lahaina, and I'm trying to upload that right now.
Nice.
So it's important that we create a video and photo evidence. So again, go to archive.org and please upload that. So so of the day of the fire, again, was there any by the way, I was at Maui El Dorado, which I find interesting. looking towards the south. I came out of an inspection at 10:30 a.m.
Oh, okay.
and I saw a very large black plume of smoke.
Yeah.
And it literally, I was like, that's a serious fire.
Serious.
It didn't look like a brush fire to me at that moment because it was a large plume of smoke at 10:30 in the morning.
Wow.
So I'm always confused when people say, well, the wildfire was put out,
Interesting.
and then, but I saw the largest black plume of smoke at 10:30 o'clock.
10:30 a.m.
Right,
Wow.
massive. So
Yeah,
eventually,
that was right after the containment, 9 o'clock containment, 100%.
Right. A massive,
Interesting.
massive black plume of smoke, and I came home and said, "Honey, there's something going on."
Wow.
So I think eventually all of these pieces of the puzzle will get put together.
Yeah.
Thankfully, everyone has got an iPhone or an Android that they documented that.
Yeah.
But we definitely need to prove or create a reasonable doubt that it was caused by a fire
Yeah.
from a arcing power line,
Yeah.
and also to submit that and to save that on a hard drive or put it on archive.org.
True. I had heard that all the fires on Maui started within like a minute or two of each other. The Kula, the upcountry one, Lahaina, which is really interesting. It seems statistically impossible.
Yeah, no,
you know,
I totally agree.
especially for a wildfire. That you're not going to get an event that. Like there was no lightning strikes. That's the other thing. We had no rain.
Yeah.
You know,
No
there was
rain.
no hurricane condition other than wind.
Right.
There was no lightning, right? So
There is no lightning on Maui very often
pretty
anyway,
much, yeah.
right?
Pretty,
I mean,
yeah.
I've
It's,
heard it.
it's almost always electrical cause, you know, and,
Right.
and high voltage. It's spruce poles with overloaded electric. It's a recipe for disaster that unfortunately we've all heard about and we've known about it, and there's been studies done on it, and there's been county and board meetings done on this for 10, 20 years already.
Really?
It's incredible. And we've all known about this. And it's always been like this danger, but our power always goes out in wind anyways because it's basically fragile, even if they're not shutting it off. So that's kind of been a godsend in a way. But that very nature of that is also why when it doesn't go out and you have a transformer blow and a line that falls down still charged, zapping in grass, grass is so dry here a lot of times. And we know about this. This isn't, they're talking about global warming and all this stuff, and that's a discussion, but it's always dry in Lahaina. It's
Right.
been this way for 14 years. We've gone through countless fires in the brush and structure fires, and we lost
Lahaina
homes.
gets, what, 12 inches of rain a year on average or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Very
it's
little
it's
amount.
very, very arid. And so none of that was news. You know, none of that was interesting to anybody that lived there. It was like, so what else is going on? And all the wind, fighting a fire in the wind must be absolutely horrendous. But fighting it without water is the thing that's so bizarre.
It's
that-
impossible. So what do you know about that? Do you know, have you,
Yeah.
just from what you heard or
Yeah.
any personal accounts of people that didn't have access to water?
Yeah, personal accounts. To us, we had water at our house. Us and our neighbors were watering down like our chicken coops and like just our lawn and putting water on trees. I don't know, like 5 p.m. Because we knew there was a fire, big fire. Like talk about a giant fire. I mean, from our house you could see, just like you said, this black plume, and it was, to me, it was striking because I knew from accounts of others that had come through there that it was still miles away in another subdivision or thereabouts. But it was blowing it was miles high, black smoke blowing so fast. You know, normally when something's huge, whale breaches, it looks slow motion. You know, clouds of smoke are going, they're slow motion. This looked like campfire smoke, but you knew it was miles, and it was just, it was just charging, but straight down the hill, not towards us.
Correct.
We
So you
never smelled it.
felt safe,
We
essentially.
kind of did, and we had already been evacuated and had ash landing in our house years ago. 2019 fire was like the one where, if anything, we brought a lot of stuff with us then, animals and like all our like passports and stuff, musical instruments, some of them. This time, it was almost the cry wolf syndrome. We'd been evacuated. We'd seen fire close. And this one we couldn't smell. We just could see it. And it felt like it was going straight to the ocean.
Right.
And we thought the fire department's going to eventually get it done.
Well,
you know?
we also debated evacuating, but we couldn't because the road directly below us is Hanapialani Highway, and the cars weren't moving on that. And we also had a city bus directly in front of our house, which city buses never come down our street. And he was idling outside of our house for
in traffic.
2+ hours.
Yeah.
So you have like gridlock outside
Yeah,
your
We
house.
couldn't go
Couldn't have
anywhere
left
anyways, even if we
anyways.
wanted to leave
Really?
earlier. So it was like, thankful that fire, it was like, man, it looks scary. You know, it just looks like this ominous monster there. Like, man, maybe we, just for inhalation purposes, maybe we get the kids out of here. So we contemplated that. I brought like my favorite guitar out, you know, just stuff that I'd want if it didn't want it to burn down. I mean, we got a ton of other stuff, but we made a good, kind of a better decision earlier. But with the wind, it was so crazy. It's like, we can't go anywhere. All this stuff's just gonna get blown out of the back of my truck. Got no camper or anything.
Right.
And we're just sitting there with the kids, like, what are we doing here? So we went back inside, used a propane camp stove to make dinner, and hung out there, and kind of we're stuck basically, and all of our neighbors too. And then what was it, 9:30 maybe?
Yeah.
Dark, 9:30. We had one lone officer.
I don't know if it was an officer because we never actually saw him.
Yeah,
but we could
that's
hear
true.
up above
Somebody
our
on a bullhorn.
house
Heard
saying,
something.
Kind
"Get
of
out."
in a panic, which is unusual to a normal evacuation. Would be like, evacuate now, evacuate the premises. It was like, evacuate now, like yelling and driving fast. Like it was kind of, we just barely heard it, but could tell someone's yelling on a bullhorn.
And this was about 9:30 at night.
yeah, about 9:30 at night.
Wow.
And
so
we
people were in bed already, possibly
Oh, for
sleeping.
sure.
I
Yeah.
was in bed with our
She
baby.
was, yeah,
I'd
yeah.
taken
Our
a
kids were
bath
asleep.
and I
No way.
dozed off, and I got jolted awake by hearing something way up in the hill saying, basically, get out immediately.
Yeah.
And we knew this thing was behind us, so it was alarming. It was kind of like, because we couldn't see over other houses and stuff how close it was. Couldn't see flames. Still didn't have ash. It seemed like it was still going straight down instead of to us. But it was at that point, hearing that, it was kind of like, all right, let's, we were like run out of there, and But we got out of the house and left all the stuff we originally brought. Unfortunately, we had food and, like I said, instruments and like her wallet and all her stuff.
Now you're in a panic.
Now we're kind of like, and I
Right.
couldn't think all day anyways,
Definitely.
wind, and didn't know what was going on. It's like, okay, well, shoot, let's not hang around here anymore. Let's go, and let's like at least get up north so we can then assess what's going on. But still not thinking the city's burning down and all our homes are going to be gone when we get back, right? That was never a thought that,
So before we even left, we made sure to close all of our windows, shut all of the doors.
yeah.
We did what we-
Let our cat out, and try to get. But we didn't bring our cat with us. It wasn't.
Have you seen the cat yet?
No, not yet. And we haven't been able to get back other than.
Yeah. What's your story of accessing your properties thus far?
Yeah, it's been.
Because I know half that neighborhood. This is called the Waikuli neighborhood. I'd
right.
say a third of it is still there,
Yeah,
and
the
two-thirds.
front
Yeah,
two-thirds for
the
sure.
The
gone.
north end is there by the
Yeah.
police station,
Yeah.
just to give you a sense of where it's at. And then about two-thirds is gone, and there's a few homes dotted that
Yeah.
did not get touched, but two-thirds is gone. But it's
right.
right off the Honopilani Highway, just south of the police station.
That's right.
And the fire station. So what have you been? You've not been able to get back to your home
we
since then?
saw it the day after we drove before there was any kind of barricades and blockades. We drove that way just to see what's going on, and like, is our house okay? Get animals, and we started realizing early on that the neighborhood was just like we thought it was. We heard explosions all night long and watched this giant red monster from where we were at the Sheridan Ballroom. And with a bunch of other refugees. At that point, we didn't know we were refugees yet, though.
Right.
We're just like, we're just checking out, but
Being safe.
yeah. Making sure. But it went on for so long, all night long. This red monster with all these explosions, that it was the denial. Like what else could it have been other than the Wahikuli neighborhood and Lahaina Luna? I never thought Front Street. I never thought Front Street burned down, no matter what. That was like, how could that have burned down? It's right in the water. Like, throw a pump in the water and keep water going, something, right?
Right.
It seems so many ways to have saved that, but apparently all the water was down. So we going back to 1950 concrete home, raised right to the ground. Just rubble sticking up, looked like little spires of all the concrete was just flaking off. It was like a cremation, just absolute incineration. I do a lot of blacksmithing and forging. I use propane and coal, so I'm used to what 2,000 degrees roughly will do to steel, and I forge custom knives and machetes and all kinds of tools, and a lot of that stuff, knife collections and stuff like that. The things were so just bent and twisted up. Very close to melting point, which is in tool steel like that. It's 3,000 degrees, and I've never heard of a structure fire getting that hot without some kind of accelerant. All our propane tanks, I've had plenty of them, and I was like, and I have oxygen acetylene. I was like, dude, I probably blew up our house. But no, all those cylinders did their job. All the baffles and the construction of them, the modern way they're built now, they're meant not to blow up.
They didn't blow up.
Didn't blow up. Not an empty one, half empty, big, small. All of my propane and all of my cylinders and all of our neighbors' cylinders that I could see, with the exception of one that did have a rupture in the side, one down the way a little bit, a older propane tank, but not an explosive, not a giant explosion at all. It's still there. It just had a rupture in it.
Right.
But all the rest of them still totally intact. A lot of them still have the valves on them. They might have vented propane. I don't know. I didn't check that. but none of them blew up. So I was wondering, like, what were all the thousands of explosions? Cars maybe, right? But this was, sometimes multiple explosions in every second, almost like boom, 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 all night long. Thousands.
Because you were up all night long.
Up all night long, and everybody else too. I mean, everybody heard this. It's on all kinds of video and audio.
So what's
of
your
this.
theory? Do you know what that could be?
I don't know. We asked some fire department what they thought, and if they thought automobiles, they thought propane tanks, especially older ones. But even to them, I think some of this was baffling, the amount of these explosions. And some it didn't seem like they really knew exactly where they were coming from either, which was interesting. They're out fighting the fire, and even to them, it was always somewhere else, kind of, that it was blowing up. It was just, I don't know, weird. Everybody's really confused.
Isn't it also just weird how the Waiikuli neighborhood caught fire? If you look at the general spread from Lahaina Luna
Amazing.
down Lahaina Luna Road towards Front Street, and then the apartments known as Ho'onanea and Opukea.
Yes.
And then it never gets to Safeway,
Never gets
really, right?
Yeah. It never traverses over there where you thought it would have.
Right.
If anything.
And then it doesn't really cross the highway, but where Front Street, I don't think it crossed the highway right there,
No.
but yet you have this whole Waiikuli area, which is, of course,
Past all that.
past all that,
the
on
concrete
the
jungle.
other side of the highway.
Yeah.
And you told me earlier that you thought it was the brush fire somehow went around the new construction that's happening up on the bypass.
So that's what a firefighter
That's what-
friend said, that
Okay.
she witnessed the fire abrupt face turn and go up the bypass. And you can see that when you come in. You
It's in
can see
grass
the-
this tall. It's something that if they had water would have just been psst.
Which
They
they
just
didn't have.
couldn't fight that. It was just that was just the remnant of the fire. Somehow, like she said, we're fighting this fire coming south, coming straight to the ocean all night, and it was like
But it
all
was,
of a sudden it just went up.
but it would
that
still have to
grass.
cross over the bypass.
That's
It would
what
have to cross the bypass,
Yeah.
right?
the bypass got to
is-
be
is-
100 feet or something
right.
if you really measured it out.
Brand new asphalt.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
How
concrete
did it?
even.
Correct. Yeah, thank you. How did it get on that side?
No idea.
Because I'll be honest with you, Hunter and I, we rode our dirt bikes on the cane roads basically, and there was a lot of down power lines. We want to go check out and get a status of the fire. We were there at sunset, and I've got video of it. And
On
there's
the 8th.
absolutely no fire. We went as far as we could to get as close to Lahaina as we could, right close to the bypass. I've got
Wow.
video of all that, and none of that is on fire.
Unreal.
And then later on that evening, when we evacuated, we went over there and saw that all those fields that we had just driven through on our dirt bike, just a few
Wow.
hours, were all on fire. Like we would have been, we would have been in the
In the
fire.
middle of that.
So I didn't think about it until you mentioned it, but like, how did it get from where it was in Lahaina town across the bypass to
No.
Waiikuli? Now, it could have been
No
embers that blew it over there,
Well,
or
that's
something
what
like
I've
that.
heard.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying
But
there's
blowing the opposite direction of the wind too, which
Thank
was
you.
really interesting.
Right,
The
yeah.
opposite, literally. I mean, I've never seen wind so. It did shift slightly here and there,
slightly, but
it was
straight towards the ocean.
straight towards the ocean,
Right.
and like there were gusts, but it would go 60 miles an hour, and this like our mango trees were just for so long. I've never seen them bending so hard, and not like waving around, just and just nuking, where you're just kind of like, oh my goodness, like felt like the houses were going to tear apart,
And the wind continued in that same direction the entire,
the
next
entire
day.
time.
Now, it wasn't
In
as
midnight, 2 in the morning, we're all
intense.
watching it, still going the same direction, just whipping straight down.
Right.
So it never did seem like it was going to go. I guess north-ish, or what do you
and
call
all the
what is
way
it, north?
around. It skirted the new development, which has
Yeah.
a massive gravel area and all kinds
Yeah,
of
so there's all these
equipment.
fire breaks already, way bigger fire break than you could run with a bulldozer. Like you said, the bypass, all the concrete commercial area that didn't burn, all that stuff, and then the new development, which is multiple story wood structures. They're plywood roof still. They're in that phase. They're not even dried in. Those are just you get big embers that are burning down a city. Touch that thing, it's over with, right? There's nothing, even no asphalt shingles yet. That stuff was fine. And then right behind it are homes that are made of concrete and old growth trees that are wet, that are very hard to catch on fire, and all that stuff just came above somehow, came uphill down into there and through that grass. I mean, there's no shrubs or anything, just grass this tall, burnt down all of Waikulia. There's no doubt about it in my mind. That's where that fire came from.
The thing that's interesting is if you're from Lahaina, if you lived here, you know Lahaina is not a windy place, right? It
Yeah.
literally sits in the wind shadow
That's
of
right.
the Kahalavai Mountains or the West Maui Mountains.
Beautiful.
So
yeah.
you get trade winds about the time you get to Ka'anapali and
Yeah.
all the way up to Kapalua, and then not much between
No.
there and Oluwalu's really.
That's right.
Oluwalu's is where things kind of open up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, and past the tunnel and stuff starts to nuke over there.
Right,
nothing
but from
here.
Laniapoko to Waikuli, that's
Calm.
usually a very calm, protected in the wind shadow of the West Maui Mountains. So I just find it so interesting that the winds were able to prevail the way that they did.
Yeah.
It's just
Like
wild.
the mountains weren't there almost.
Correct.
Yeah, it was just like, straight,
It's like
yeah,
this one-
straight through the mountain.
It's like someone was holding a blow dryer.
Well, literally.
Right?
We said that. Yeah, it felt like that too. It was that kind of hot, dry air just forcing its way through there.
I had watched the news the morning of, and it was Guy Hagi, because I was curious. I heard there was this hurricane. I don't watch the news anymore, but I thought, hey, there's something going on. I better know what's going on. And I just remember this little ball, showing this little ball of a hurricane. He said it was a tight, small, powerful hurricane going 500 miles to our south and just completely out of the path, and it was just dismissed. Whereas normally Hawaii, they overplay the
Yes.
danger of hurricanes.
Oh,
They're all
yeah.
going to hit. We're all in the eye of the storm. It's all going to be a direct hit. Go sell some plywood. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like it's overkill
Yeah,
every
batten
single
down
time.
the hatches. Yeah.
And this time it was like,
That-
you're safe. Don't even think about it.
Yeah, no one even knew it. We didn't even talk about this, and we'd had our previously, lit plywood up on our windows and stuff. And this one, and like we always say, it's like the cry wolf syndrome. It's like
Right.
when you're in an area that gets these threats so often for year after year, you become complacent in that, because it's a very protected spot, Lahaina. And you got these old buildings, 1812, the school. I mean, the Lahaina Front Street, over 100 years old, everything there made of wood. How did it not burn down ever before until modern? A jewel of the good old U.S. of A. This isn't a struggling country in a third world zone with no resources. We pay full blown taxes here, and more than most. We have taxes that other people have never heard of here in the GET, general
Right.
excise tax. and
Everyone
stuff.
gets taxed basically 4% and change.
Yep.
That goes out of every dollar that
Yep.
you make, everything that you buy. It's across the
Everything.
board.
Yet
on
we
top
have-
of your state income tax.
That's it. Yeah, we have some of the worst parks. Our schools are in general, I would call them barracks. They're mobile offices, kind of stacked on
Right.
top of each other,
And
and,
we-
everybody that lives here, nodding their head. It's true. It's just this is true. I'm not trying to
Highest
spread
per
something.
capita money per child is what I've heard,
Yep.
is what we actually have.
Yep.
But yet we have the worst infrastructure. So
Parks and baseball diamonds. I'm a baseball coach, and we got baseball diamonds with literally with these like metal posts where the plates went onto probably in the 70s when they're up above the ground. No work done to them. Everything's lumped up in the parks with little sticking out poles, and the mat that you're supposed to have is just torn up, just all over the place, dilapidated, broken, and it's like it really does feel like you're in some kind of like war torn that went through a war like 20 years ago and no one ever fixed in a way,
Right,
and
right.
it's like in this jewel, this
Right.
jewel
You're like
of an
in
area.
Eastern Europe or some
Yes,
kind of
yes.
third world country or something.
100%,
And,
yeah.
I used to sell real estate in Aspen, and their county
right.
facilities you could eat off the floor. I
Yes.
mean, they have the nicest,
Absolutely.
preeminent playgrounds and parks, and the executives running those counties that are super smart
Oh,
and
yeah.
are beholden to the taxpayer and do a great job.
Yes.
You don't find that in this community
You don't
whatsoever.
find it, not at all. And that's a good point. Aspen is one that I've thought of. It's there's a lot of parables to this area because there's one way in, essentially one way out. You could go over the pass, but basically there's one highway in Aspen. And if Aspen was to burn, everyone would die. I mean, it's just that easy. There's nowhere to go. It's in a valley of some of those beautiful mountains you've ever seen, but there's nowhere to go. And that's why they went underground a long time ago, and that has saved that town. They've never had any threat of fire, even though there's 10-year droughts there going on over and over. They've never had fire that have wiped that town out. There's old historic buildings all over that town, and knock on wood that it won't ever. But if it does, it's going to be someone's probably personal negligence that got a raging fire going, not the state or the county
Right.
that just decided, we have all the money in the world for that because everyone's paid us for it. but we're going to not do it. That's been the part that irks
It's
me the
interesting.
most.
Where's the money going?
Where's it gone?
Where's it gone? Yeah.
Where is it at?
So, anything you want to touch on in terms of moving forward? Are there gaps or the things that you need right now, besides the fact that you've lost everything that you own? I mean, are there immediate needs that you have or that you're seeing in the community that the world should know about in terms of helping the real survivors of this tragedy? On the west side of Maui, not on the other side.
Yeah.
Keep in mind there's two sides of the island, right?
That's right.
We're the people still on the west side of Maui.
Yeah. Yeah, we always say at this point, like, we need absolutely everything and nothing, right? We're all making it. We don't need stuff really anymore. First few days was legitimately, nobody had food, nobody had any clothes, like people didn't have shoes, underwear. It was crazy. At this point, it's all personal donations. People have put into this community.
The community has come in, right?
It's got we have so much stuff now that it's only getting the word out, what's going on here, that we're still here, we're still living through this, we're still not allowed on our properties. We've never been allowed back, and they're already talking about putting this kind of polymer sticky stuff down over the top because of the potential toxins, which makes sense, but then we don't know what that stuff is, and it's supposed to be pink, and they're going to spray it over 5 square miles over people's homes, and a lot of us still have stuff of value that we can recover, and we've never been allowed to. And you got National Guard on every street. It's super military driving around here. We've heard of arrests now of people trying to get to their homes. They're taking it seriously. They put in the news. One of the county directors said there's a zero tolerance policy for homeowners returning to their homes. That was his words. Zero tolerance. We're going to arrest people. It's just like.
But we're still paying our mortgage.
Well, because it's so dangerous, we'll deal with that.
Still paying the mortgage.
Still paying our mortgages.
We'll probably send you a tax bill too.
Oh
right?
yeah, for sure. It's like we'll put our respirators on and keep ourselves safe. Like
Right.
that should be just a
Right.
right of everyone.
If
who has a
mainlanders
property
can come over here that are workers with the right equipment, they
That's
can
right.
they can facilitate you guys to have a
Sure.
visitation, if you will.
here. Even if it's escorted in
Right.
or whatever.
Or
they
what
need
if
to
you
do.
have a loved one that died that you can go there and pay your last respects?
Absolutely. Before they put some kind of whatever material down,
I've
and
also-
it entombs it all.
Right. I've also heard from scientists around the world that are paying attention to this, and they're saying that particular solution is not necessarily, can catch fire, is what somebody told me. So, and there also should be a lot of digging going to excavate down. There needs to be excavation of the soil. What is the plan to protect the soil? What's the plan to protect the ocean? Because
Yes.
the rains could be coming.
Yeah.
What's the plan to protect the air? What's the plan to test the water and make sure we're not all drinking we've been told that north of Lahaina, the water is safe, and Kanaanapali and Honokawai and Napili and Kapalua. Is someone testing that and proving that to us?
Yeah.
There's so many different
Nobody.
things happening right now. And so listening to President Biden talk and shots and all those people, a lot of top level stuff, but how about digging into the details of these very, very important issues, and what is the plan, and are they going to be transparent with that plan?
That's it.
And are the authorities being allowed to come do the investigations? I've got people calling me from Switzerland, and I've had NASA call me, different people that are saying, hey, they are not keeping with the normal protocol
Yeah.
for this kind of a disaster, for
bet.
this kind of a crime scene.
It sure feels that way.
Things are being removed, things are not being transparent, and there's steps that need to be taken now to protect this land, because ultimately, if it is considered toxic, and I've had other people from other fire stories tell me that their land was determined to be toxic and not safe, and we're no longer allowed to access it. And is that a pathway that they're trying to create? I don't know if it's once again, we're just trying to think everything through.
Yes. Yeah. And those questions. That's the thing. It's where we live in this society where asking those questions is kind of deemed inappropriate, which
Right.
is so backwards. And I think most of us who understand that we don't care that that's deemed backwards, because it's the natural way that we need to be asking real questions.
Mm-hmm.
So much of the media is full of questions that are they couldn't be more useless.
Correct.
They're over and over and repetitive in nature. They're so basic. They're so useless there's no information in them. How did that make you feel? All these kind of things. And it's just like, we need to know, like you said, what are we doing moving forward, and what is the plan? Because as far as we all know, as a group of citizens concerned about the welfare of this entire city, it's like no one's done anything. We're not allowed to do anything. I don't see them doing much, other than National Guard 3 or 4 at a time on every street.
And they're all
They're
local.
so-
They're all local guys from Oahu.
Yep, and they literally will tell you like,
But where were
yeah,
they the
I don't
night
know
of
what.
fire?
Right.
They're super nice guys.
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
like, if that was my house, I'd sure want to get there. Like, I get
Yeah.
it. You know, they totally understand. And they're just like, yeah, I think they're looking for bodies. And it's like, yeah, well, I can tell you right now that this whole area, I know every single person is accounted for, and there's not going to be a body here, you know. But they don't want it. They're not interested in even finding out who's at what address, where you are. That went on for a long time. It's like, instead of like trying to piece it all together, let's go ahead and get the information we do have, the people that are here that know each other. Okay, you're in that house, all accounted for. You're in that, a whole giant 3 blocks, all accounted for. Very unlikely there's going to be unfortunate souls that died there, because we know where everyone is, unless
Right.
somebody ran from a long ways away, and it's always
Right.
possible.
All these checkpoints should be taking some kind of a census
Yes.
and creating a system for figuring out what address are you in, how many members are in your household,
Yeah.
who are accounted for, some kind of system. You just assume, and maybe you're assuming as a listener or a watcher of this show, that when the shit hits the fan, the government's going to show up with a bunch of really sophisticated things and supplies and computers and satellite phones, and you think that the cavalry is coming. Well, we're here to tell you on Maui, the cavalry is not here. They
No.
did not show up.
No.
And whatever you do see happening for assistance is happening through the likes of guys like Kai Lenny and just normal citizens
That's
that are mobilizing, bringing resources that are needed. There's no presence on this side of the island, West Maui. Maybe they're all standing around Warriors, whatever,
Yeah, we don't know.
stadium.
Yeah,
But
There's a fisherman from Molokai that
Yeah.
Yeah.
keeps
Fisherman.
coming
there's a fisherman
Boats.
from Molokai that came over that supposedly was picking up, dead bodies on his trip
Still,
over.
yeah. Yeah.
It's really quite interesting that a lot of this hasn't been revealed. If you go to LahainaFireVictims.com, LahainaFireVictims.com, it's a redirect to a spreadsheet that shows everyone that's been found, everyone that's been missing. So that's a resource if you haven't heard of it yet. It
Yeah,
redirects
there
to
you
a
go.
Google page, but you can quickly see there's a lot of people that are missing.
Yes.
Why are they so slow in revealing the enormity of this tragedy?
Why are they so slow? And we that's something on a personal level that I can speak to. Again, it's secondhand knowledge. I haven't seen all these dead bodies. I have seen dead bodies though, personally, but I have. There's people who are closely linked to the police department that I cannot name, but I can tell you that it is an open secret that the death toll is much higher than they're saying. And like I said, I realize they have all this protocol to go through, but why not at least gear people up for that? We have 1,300 to 2,000 people missing. We live on a tiny island. They're not hanging out in the woods that I know of.
There's nowhere to go.
They're probably dead. That's why they're missing. And that's just a reality that needs to start being addressed. And it's crazy that they're not even, hey, we expect this to be a lot higher, maybe towards the 1,000 range. We're missing all these people. So it's like 109, 111, 114. Days and days. It's crazy. It's like we got to start. People can start getting closure for that and start to recognize that
And
there's
if
a
someone
lot,
can
it's a lot worse.
prove they have a home that they lived in, if it's safe for the President of the United States of America to stand at ground zero for a few hours and
Yes.
give a speech, we were down there. I'm sure there's some toxic stuff, but if people choose to take the risk and they wear their appropriate safety clothing, but notice nobody there had a
Nobody
mask
there did.
on.
That was
right?
amazing to me.
So
they didn't.
your actions speak so loud, I can't hear what you're saying.
That's right. Exactly.
So
exactly.
I think it's time for the government to be transparent and to not
definitely.
suppress social media. The governor himself said, "Don't believe social media, but believe the stories of survivors." So that's why we're featuring you guys on the channel. So what are some things that on a personal level that if people want to reach out to you, obviously you can give to our GoFundMe, which is LahainaFireFund.com. You can put down the name Jeremy or Baldwin or whatever code word. We'll get that money directly to them.
Appreciate
if they want to reach out to you in person, are you comfortable giving your cell phone number and they can text you and
100%.
help out?
Yeah. I have a Venmo if you guys can help. I mean, like I said, our insurance is so woefully inadequate that we got a road ahead for sure. And raising these kids, we know we're going to do it, and we got all the support, and we have this amazing community. But every bit helps, and my Venmo's Jeremy-Baldwin-47, and we have a GoFundMe, Jeremy and Elisha Baldwin. And then
Not part of the Maui Baldwins.
no, we're not part of any of the rich Baldwins. Every other Baldwin that I've ever heard of is just elite and rich, not my family.
So that's, again, repeat your Venmo.
Venmo is Jeremy-Baldwin-47.
So the number four.
Number
no,
47.
Number 47,
Yeah,
got you.
47.
And what's the best way they can find your GoFundMe?
I think it's Jeremy and Elisha or the Baldwins. I don't know.
It-
I actually don't know. We didn't
Well-
someone set it up for us.
If we get the
Or-
link,
or-
when we get the link, we'll put it in the description of this video.
Yeah.
But we're all about connecting viewers with
Thank
real
you.
people. Because if you give it to the
Yeah.
Red Cross and these other organizations, they're not even here. There's not even a tent set up.
No.
Zero. So that shows you their level of intention, right?
Yeah.
They're not present.
That's right.
So why give your money to an organization that's not even here? And how many days ago was this? 9 days?
Yeah.
What day is it? I don't even know.
13 days ago, wasn't it?
What is it? It was
12?
is 8. What's 8 minus 21? Anyone? Talk to me.
Uh,
Grab your iPhones.
yeah, calculator. It's been a lot longer
It's-
than
it's a
than
big
it could have
blur,
been.
though.
If you needed money, and you were relying on your taxpayer donations that you're supposed to be able to get back in an emergency, sorry, you're not. You don't have a dollar from any of that stuff.
Right. Talk to me about internet connectivity, because
Yeah.
one of the things I've heard from previous survivors of other wildfires is you need to be able to get online. One of the first things they
Yes.
said was get a laptop and get an internet connection, because all the paperwork you're going to need to fill out is going to be on a laptop,
Yep.
not an iPhone.
It's all digital.
Talk
and
to
all
me.
on a
Talk
laptop.
to me about your internet connectivity
Yeah.
over the course of this last few
Yeah.
this week, and what is it like today on Maui, for your experience, and what company are you with?
Yeah. We have a condo that somebody was gracious enough to let us stay at for a few weeks, and that's in Kihei, and we have limited cell service there, but it's not because of any of this. It's just where it happens to be. But we can get cell service and we can get internet there. But when we're on the west side, we still. I know you've been getting Starlinks to people.
We're on a Starlink right now.
We're on Starlink right now. We don't have any of that over here. We have a friend that lives in Lanipoco who has one of those as well. That's been and that's all in Lanipoco still. It's all generator based
Right,
still.
they have no power.
No powers. And to start one of those, I heard you got to have Wi-Fi in the first place.
Correct.
Which is kind of
Chicken and the egg.
You got to chicken and the egg. Yeah, you got to go figure that out first. You're carrying this box around like
It's useless.
Useless. Yeah.
Until you find someone
Until you
that
find
has
somebody
internet
else who
connection
happens that
on a
way.
laptop, by the way.
On a laptop, you got to have all that. And I have a laptop, and I think she saved one laptop, but we have multiple hard drives and other computers and our home computer and all that stuff and cell phones, and it all got burned up.
gone.
So that's all our life's pictures, our life's work, her pottery studio, my workshop. She does classes, like free classes for the neighborhood, always has for pottery, and it's been this beautiful little life and this little amazing little oasis that we had going on, and it's super sad. It's extremely sad to see it go. It's not something that money can really rebuild. It's time and it's that healing that the community has to go through, and you got to come out like that phoenix. You got to rise out of it. But for now we're just trying to figure out how to come up with a plan, and it's hard to do that when you can't get information, when you can't even go to your property, you can't start working, you can't do anything, and they're not doing it.
Can't
So
breathe.
it's just, and then they're talking about all these plans to code it, and then you're thinking, well, let's do some tests like we were talking about. I haven't heard anything about any kind of lab testing that's gone on. They said, well, there might be all these chemicals, and I'm sure there are, right? But what is this chemical we're putting on top of that chemical? And then we have aquifers all over Lahaina, and we have underground. We have this underground. It's called the lens. Right? It's where wells can get into it, and it's brackish water up to crystal clear water. Well, that stuff's still under there, and there's cesspool, septic tanks, all this stuff that are right now open to that. So if we're coating that, are we doing more damage to that? Is it going to get into that? Because if it gets into that, like you said, we got to get into the soil, and we have to get this stuff out of here, not entombed.
Right.
Unless we plan on just abandoning the island, which is this whole that's a terrifying thought.
It is. If they make it uninhabitable,
Yeah,
then
deem
that's
it
not good.
uninhabitable. Yeah,
Correct.
and we're all at the mercy of that.
I've
but
had
they deem it.
I've had scientists call me saying, "Where's the Army Corps of Engineers? The Army Corps of Engineers needs to come here and put in a plan for when it does rain, that the proper drainage. That drainage needs to
the
put
drainage
in
is
right
gonna
now,
be
because what's
wild.
going to happen." I didn't know this, but when you shoot a fish here and you eat it and it's a small fish, you can get the secatera. Is that what it's called?
Secatera, yeah.
Did you know where that comes from?
Yeah. No, I don't know where it
I
comes
didn't know this either, but these scientists are calling me. The secatera came from the Big Island and some type of a fertilizer that they were using that got into the ocean. And they said, what's going to happen here, will make Secatera seem like I forget the word he used, like cotton candy. I mean,
yeah,
right.
nothing.
If these toxins get
I didn't
into
know that.
these waters,
Oh,
we're talking an environmental disaster that, by the way, the world is watching.
yeah.
The world is watching how
Yeah.
they are handling this, because these waters will affect these other countries.
Oh man.
And there's major implications, there's major liability. The United Nations is looking at what the U.S. is doing right now.
Yeah.
On an environmental level, this is as bad as it could possibly get.
Definitely.
And what are they doing, and why are they not talking about it publicly right now and informing us if this is who's here, who's doing the studies, and why is it that every scientist is calling me saying the way they're handling this is completely nonsensical? They were able to pull graphs of power surges in the grid. There's certain things that they're able to look at that they're telling me look very interesting, right, to say the least, but there needs to be the right people here to investigate all that. They need to open it up to the science community.
Yes.
The science
Yes.
community needs to get here
Yeah.
right away. And if
Yeah.
you wait, time is not your friend when it
That's
comes to
right.
these things. Have there been radiation testing that's been done in case there was any kind of, I'm not saying a nuclear warhead, but some type of a nuclear thing that was used to power something? Hitachi came here in the 2017 to test or do some kind of smart city, and they installed a bunch of batteries and charging stations. If you don't believe it, Google it,
Yeah.
Hitachi 2017. I did.
Yeah, it's
And-
not, it's not a conspiracy theory.
Right.
It
So
happened.
was there something that was accidentally incinerated or caught fire? I'm not saying there's a purposeful accelerant, but what was laying around Lahaina town that we
What was?
don't know about?
Yes.
And so it's time to figure this
They
thing out.
mentioned radiological. They're going to do a cleanup, the EPA, and one of the things they mentioned was potential radioactive elements. And it's like, what would that be? We don't know.
We don't know.
And why compartmentalize the knowledge like the government loves to do? Compartmentalize everything. You'd only want to do that if you're trying to hold back, hide things, right? It's like there's nothing to hide, right? Especially if they're calling it a wildfire. Well, then open it right up
Right.
to absolute global cooperation and
Treat it
support.
like a wildfire,
Yeah.
if that's what it
That's
is.
right.
We know it
Yeah.
isn't.
We know it
We know
is
it's not a
absolutely
natural
not.
disaster.
Yeah.
But where's the transparency?
global warming.
It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
global
exactly.
warming,
It's not global
obviously.
warming, no.
You know, it was
This place has been globally warmed for a long time.
right. Remember, Lahaina means cruel sun.
Cruel
It's
sun,
one of the
yeah.
hottest places
Yeah.
on the west side of Maui.
Yeah.
We endure heat and sun every day,
Every day.
of the
It
year.
has not gotten any hotter here that I know of.
Right,
I mean,
and that day, if anything, was a little bit cooler because of the winds. It
Yeah.
wasn't a particularly warm day
yeah,
by any stretch of the
yeah,
imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyway, well, thank you, Jeremy, so much,
Yeah,
man. I really
thank you,
appreciate you
thank
reaching
you.
out
I
and taking your
appreciate
time to tell the world what's going on. I really feel for your loss. I'm so sorry, and obviously we're here to help any way that we can.
I appreciate all you've been doing. You've been working hard for everybody here, man. And that's what we know, your boys and my boys, friends with your boys. And I mean, thank goodness we know you, because you've been getting the word out and been working hard, and we want to be a part of that. You know, we don't have much to offer yet, but I can do just about everything.
Right.
And once I get back on my feet, I plan on absolutely helping everybody. I mean, that's just we got to get that bond back and start rebuilding this place. You know,
Correct.
We don't have any intention of leaving. So
Matter of fact, you're friends with Ed Cheney, who a lot of you guys have gotten to know through the
right.
channel here. And,
right next door neighbors.
so you guys are some very skilled
We can-
laborers.
we can do it.
But you need to put the tools back in the hands of the people that
were
can
just-
use them, right?
We just were talking to Ed about how many tools we used to own. Every tool human beings have ever made in the history of the world, you know, and we don't have a single tool now.
You're like,
Or
where's
the
the
screwdriver?
I need a screwdriver.
Yeah, like holy smokes.
Swiss Army knife,
Yeah,
man.
this is uncomfortable to say the least.
I'll take what I can get.
Yep.
So I've got a few notes here. If anything pops off that you want to talk about, let me know. But I took a few notes. I'm just going to talk about them real quick. If you were impacted by this fire, I've been encouraged by some individuals to encourage you to go get I want to keep you guys in frame. If you want to get a wellness check, go to the hospital to get a wellness check. It's important that if anything you have been exposed to, if you go to the hospital now and tell them that you're in a disaster zone, ground zero, to go get a wellness check at the hospital, they should know what that means, and they should be able to present physical data, because the human body holds toxins longer than the air. Go get a wellness check. We talked about the plastic cover. Where's the investigation, site excavation? Where's the Army Corps of Engineers? Global warming, let's stop talking about it. There is a couple that's trapped in Lahaina Roads. Lahaina Roads. I have a couple that is texting me that they're in Lahaina Roads. You can watch the live from last night. I went directly to 4 different guardsmen and mentioned that there's someone in Lahaina roads. What do I do? They told me to talk to a FEMA person. We couldn't find a FEMA person. I'm getting text messages from Lahaina roads. A couple is stuck there. They're in their 70s. They have dementia. They're running out of food and water. So please, if you can help sound the alarm, Lahaina roads is very important. FEMA is not here. Water tests we'd love to have. If you're looking for information for your home, I've been told that UP Help, United Policyholders.org, UP Help, has got a very good website. They've helped other fire victims in the past. They're a nonprofit, but they help people go through the process of submitting insurance claims. They have free webinars that are happening. There's a schedule on there. Of course, nobody on the west side has got access to the internet, so I guess what good's that going to do anybody at this moment?
No.
And of course, access to the internet is very important. So if you can get Starlinks over here, I gave away 6 in the first couple of days. There's no more Starlinks. I don't have a Starlink. And the guy that I gave my Starlink to, he's coming back and he wants it. So I need a Starlink pretty soon. Like seriously.
I know, it's crazy.
We need some connectivity. And why is no one talking about that? When the president gets up and talks about this is important. We need internet. We don't have internet. Don't believe anyone otherwise.
They go to Vietnam in the 60s and they got comms up after they put napalm all over the place. They got comms up, and overnight that they have global communication within the 60s. They supposedly put people on the moon with comms. I mean, it should not be. We should not be in a void 2 weeks later over here.
Right. And my recommendation is open up the bank account. Give people more than $700. If you're going to send a whole bunch of money to the Ukraine, don't make these people jump through a bunch of hoops and sign a bunch of stuff that they're not familiar with or they're scared about with FEMA, especially property owners. Open up the bank account, register them, allow them to get the money that they need so they can live, but don't have it connected to some kind of document they have to sign with FEMA because the trust isn't there. If you can send money to the Ukraine, you can send money to the people of Maui. And if this pisses you off, then you, as a listener, need to do something as well. You need to share the video. You need to call somebody, write somebody. I'm trying to mobilize the mainland to actually act and do, because if you just listen to this and turn it off and move on down the road, it's not going to help.
That's right.
So that's my call to action. Do you have a specific call to action for anything?
I ditto on everything you said. Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing I could say to that. That is absolutely the sentiment of us and a lot of other people too. It's weird. You go through a disaster like this. It's always it's always like on TV, right? It's always a movie or TV or somebody else, and it's really hard to be completely empathetic to that and going through it as a community. I mean, it's real. It's devastating. It's extremely hard to cope with, and man, we got to take care of important things first, not all these red tape hoops, that don't get us anywhere for sure. Let's get something done.
Thank you, Jeremy. I
Thank you
appreciate
very much.
it very much.
Appreciate you.
Yep, Elisha,
Appreciate
thank
you.
you.
And your family.
We'll
Thank
be
you.
praying for you guys.
Thank you very
And I'd
much.
like to end on that note. If you guys could please pray for Maui. Get on your knees for a few minutes and just pray. We need help. We need God's help right now. And I believe no matter what background or faith belief that you have, pray to God and ask for Him to help us because we need help. And I believe with that, the right people will be mobilized and the right things will happen. God will protect us and God will get rid of any type of plan that's purposeful or not, or intentional or not, or whatever that's going to come against us. We're not conspiracy theorists. We just want the right thing to happen for the people of Maui. I encourage the governor to shake hands with Archie Kalepa and the Hawaiians because this is their, let's face it, this is their land. We're visitors here. I'll never consider myself like a local or anything like that. We're visitors here. We're longtime residents, but it's important to include those people. And I know I got a text from the governor. Thank you, Governor. And you said you're going to do that. Please make it public. Please air it on a live. Please let those discussions be something that we can be a part of as a community so we can hear that you're doing it, not just something that you say or text.
And one more thing, Archie Kalepa, he's terrified of people leaving, right? It's like, and all of us are, it's a mortifying thought because if community members start leaving, and it's easy to do because this city's just a rubble pile, and it's so easy to think, we have nothing. So it's like, hey, let's just get on a plane, get out of here, done.
5 hours.
See you later, and deal with insurance or whatever, get a little pittance back. But we all do that. It's just
They win.
They win.
Whatever,
and this place
they
is
is
just bought up by they, right? And we're done. So we can't. Yeah, we're with them, man.
Yeah.
We got to stay here. We got to stay here and get this done, or nobody else is going to, other than hate to say it, the bad guys, but I don't know what else to call it. The empire, right?
Right. Exactly. So, thank you. We hope this message resonates. We hope that you'll help us beat the algorithms. That you'll share it on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook,
Twitter.
X/Twitter, Rumble,
Truth Social.
Truth Social.
Unite the 99.
Unite every video that we've posted, any other truthful video that you've seen out there, get it out there because they're trying to suppress.
Yeah.
They are. I've already been told this channel is going to be taken down if we start speaking too much truth. But we're all about truth and love, filling the gaps. Let's find the gap. Let's fill the gap. Let's F and go. And let's connect people with the real survivors that need the resources. If you have a resource that you want to share with us besides money, that's important. So please go to MauiLFG.org. We have a button that you can push that says I have a resource, or you have a need. If you need help, go to MauiLFG.org and say you need help. We have AI that's going to create a database and marry the needs with the
A
resources.
temporary issue has occurred while connecting to the server. Please try again later.
Alert! Alert!
So we're down anyway, but this is pre-recorded. We're going to repost it so that you have the perfect audio. Thanks, guys. Much
Thank
aloha.
you.
We'll throw them some shakas.
Aloha. Appreciate you guys.
Where's
Thank
the
you very
shaka?
much.
There it is. Until next time, Eric West and the crew, thanks for
Yeah.
all your help. Until next time, Eric West out. Share, like, and subscribe. Don't forget.
Oh.
Don't forget.
Thank